y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode we're going to review New Japan World Tag League Finals. Now, I haven't been reviewing many New Japan shows, and the reason is I just haven't caught a lot of them in their entirety. And the ones that I have, it's been 2 or 3 days later. So, it's kind of redundant to review something that there's 100 reviews already out on. With that being said, I was able to catch this early this morning. Unfortunately, I didn't get to record the review till much later in the day. But let's jump right into it. First off, I want to preface everything with the World Tag League was a very grueling month of travel for these guys, so you're going to have to take these ratings a bit with a grain of salt. Everything has a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. A lot of these guys just went through this and are pretty worn down, so remember that I'm not trying to beat them up, but I do have to be objective. First match of the night, we got Umino, Yoshida, Henare, and Makabe versus Nakanishi, Nagata, Tenzin, and Kojima. This is a good starter. This is about what you expect from New Japan. This is, these multi-man matches that forward several different things at once. I like this. I thought it was fun. The team with Nakanishi, Nagata, Tenzin, and Kojima win. I give this match a 3. I think it's a good way to start off the show, get everybody excited. A good match. I enjoy these out of New Japan because it's kind of like, instead of a throwaway match, which it basically is, they add a little bit of excitement with putting in some unique pairings and unique, matchups in there. Next up, we have Chucky T, Trent Beretta, Michael Elgin, and Jeff Cobb versus Davey Boy Smith Jr., Lance Archer, Iizuka, and Minoru Suzuki. I like this match. I thought it could have been a bit better. You could tell these guys were tired in this match. Like I said in the beginning, we have to excuse that a bit. You could tell a lot of these guys were beat up a bit and a little bit worn out. We continue the storyline with Chuck Taylor seemingly losing it, kind of acting like Suzuki-gun acts, which is interesting because they're wrestling Suzuki-gun. The Suzuki-gun team picks up the win when Chuck Taylor starts swinging a chair at everybody, so they win by DQ. I give this match a 3. I like the story with what they're doing. I kind of expected them to split up the best friends here and maybe have a match, if not at Wrestle Kingdom, at the show right afterwards, the New Year's Dash show. So, I'm wondering if New Year's Dash is when they're going to split them up at this point. Because I don't think the best friends are booked on the Wrestle Kingdom show yet. And I know there's 2 other shows before Wrestle Kingdom, but they're not going to do a big angle like this on one of those. It would be something that would be New Year's Dash or Wrestle Kingdom, or it would have been this show if they did it. I don't even know if they're particularly going to split. Maybe they leave Chaos and join Suzuki-gun, which is kind of how they're acting. If they do split, I expect Chuck Taylor to go over to Suzuki-gun because, again, fits with what they do there. Next up, we have Roppongi 3K, Sho and Yo, and Ishii versus Kanemaru, Desperado, or El Desperado, and Zack Sabre Jr. I like this match as well. I kind of feel like we're falling into a rut a bit here, and again, I keep harping on this, but it felt like you were watching people that were worn down and went through a grueling schedule recently. The Chaos team, Sho, Yo, and Ishii pick up the win. We had some interesting interaction between ZSJ and Ishii, who are going to fight for the Rev Pro Championship, the British Heavyweight title as they're calling it, at Wrestle Kingdom. So, a little bit of interesting back and forth between those two after the match. I thought it was a solid match. I'm going to give it a 3. Again, we're seeing good, not great matches, which is kind of to be expected. At this point, though, in the show usually is where the quality of the matches start picking up. Next up, we have Chase Owens, Hangman Adam Page, and Yujiro Takahashi representing the Elite, although I guess in New Japan they're still part of the Bullet Club because Owens and Yujiro have Bullet Club on their gear still, and later on in the show we see Bullet Club logos even on the Young Bucks, so a little bit shady at what's going on there. They're going up against the LIJ team of Shingo, Bushi, and Naito. I love Shingo, and I'm very happy that he's finally made it to New Japan. Not that I didn't enjoy his career before, but I like to see what he does in New Japan and how he goes on. And they even mentioned in commentary he's being used as a junior, but no way does he look like a junior heavyweight. He's a interesting wrestler that I think brings attention to himself, and he fits perfectly with LIJ. He fits perfectly with the likes of Sanada and Naito and Hiromu when he finally comes back, Evil, Bushi. They all have similar things, so I think he was a great fit for this, and I think he's absolute steal of the year that they were able to get him and bring him in. The LIJ team picks up the win. I kind of expected as much. The Elite team is kind of the guys that you would expect to take a loss. Although I think they're kind of going back and forth with Adam Page, whether they're going to build him or not. Either way, it's a slow build if they are. I give the match a 3. Again, it was good, not great. Next up, we have Okada, Yano, and Kushida versus the Bullet Club OG team of Ishimori, Bad Luck Fale, and Jay White. This is about what I expected. I expected this match to go down how it did. I expected the BCOG team to win. They've been booked very strong as of late, especially Jay White. And for the two matches that you're building here, Ishimori versus Kushida and White versus Okada, I think this was a really good way to do that. I give the match itself a 3. We see after the match the OGs, along with Jado, who was at ringside interfering in the entire match. They kind of start laying a beat down on the... actually, I'm sorry, Jado was later on, but that's a different OGs match. After the match, they start laying the beat down on the guys representing, I guess you would say, Chaos and Affiliate, until Togi Makabe makes a save, which is interesting because Makabe making the save, if you know your history, and they even brought it up on commentary for those who don't, when Chaos was built, they kind of turned their back on him and kind of left him alone and beat him down. So it's interesting that he would make the save. The enemy of my enemies is my friend, I guess, is what they're going with here, and maybe bring him back into the fold. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I think he's a great wrestler, so adding him to Chaos, I think, only makes that stable better. Adding him to any stable makes them better, in my opinion. Now, next up, we have Taguchi, David Finlay, Juice Robinson, and Tanahashi versus Marty Scurll, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks. This match, I feel like this match never got out of the beginning stages of it. I feel like it was kind of in a holding pattern, that everything they did, it never went to that intensity level that we see from a lot of these guys. I mean, we got some really talented wrestlers here. Taguchi, highly underrated. I think too much is made of his comedy stuff, but he is a really, really good wrestler. Kind of like Colt Cabana in America, where you kind of think more of him as a comedy guy, but realistically, he's a great wrestler as well. David Finlay has had an amazing year. Juice Robinson's broke out and became a star. Tanahashi, what can I say? He's the ace of the generation. And then you got the guys on the other side, Kenny Omega, who arguably is the best wrestler in the world right now. Marty Scurll, who's not that far behind him. And the Young Bucks, who for the last 10 years have been the best tag team in the world. And this match kind of, it really felt like it was built to be a 30-minute match and they only got 15. So they kind of rushed through a couple things. It never really gained traction and built to the match it could have been. The Elite team picked up the win in it. I'm going to give it a 3. I think it was good, not great. Again, this is a problem that's plaguing the show. A lot of the matches up to this point were good, but just were missing something to make them better, make them something memorable. Everything from here and before, mostly you're going to forget. If it wasn't for Makabe on the match before, you'd totally forget that in SC. And maybe the Trenton Chucky breakup angle. But other than that, all these matches of this night, you can wipe out of your memory because you're not going to remember them 2 months from now, a month from now, a year from now. Which leads us into our first of 3 matches that I was really looking forward to. Because these multi-man matches, while they're fun and they're good to watch, there's really nothing on the line. Then we come into the main, which I call the main part of the card. First up, for the number 1 contender for the Never Openweight Championship, we have Tai Chi versus Will Ospreay. And before I get into this, I hate when we get Tai Chi without Miho. I like Tai Chi as a wrestler, but I think the package is so much better than just him alone. I love her as a valet. She's very easy on the eyes. And to me, she's the modern Miss Elizabeth. She makes Tai Chi better because you kind of feel like he treats her like garbage, which is what they want to do with this, so it makes you hate him more, making his character better. And he's already hated in Japan, and I don't want to go into why. You can Google it and find out. I'll just put it like this. Japanese culture has a lot more emphasis on not cheating on spouses, and Tai Chi made some mistakes. I digress. I kind of expected Tai Chi to pick up the win here. Once Will Ospreay did pick up the win, I kind of knew what was going to happen in the next match. But I'm going to give this match a 4. I thought it was really good. I think Tai Chi is underrated. I think he's a main event talent, especially when you add Miho Abe in there with him. Like I said, the dichotomy between the two is perfect. Plus, they're both good-looking people. I'm secure enough to say it. He's a good-looking man. She's a good-looking woman. You got the angle where every man hates him for having her and treating her like garbage. So, the whole thing, I think, is perfect. Like I said, it reminds me of something like Jimmy Garvin and Precious would do, or Macho Man and Elizabeth. And she carries herself so regally that you feel like you want to protect her, basically. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's the way it plays out is much better than I can explain it. Now, coming off of that, we see a match that's going to solidify another Wrestle Kingdom match, and that's Hiroki Goto versus Kota Ibushi for the Never Openweight Championship. Kota is seconded by Kenny Omega in this match. I thought this match was really good. If Tai Chi won the match before, I would have expected Goto to win. But since Tai Chi didn't, I knew that Kota Ibushi was going to win, which he did. And it's no knock on Goto. I kind of feel with Goto, he's kind of the Dolph Ziggler of New Japan, where they start and stop and start and stop and start and stop his pushes so much that people have lost interest in him. And I hate that it's that way because he's really talented and he's really a good wrestler. I almost wish he would do something like maybe go to Ring of Honor for 6 or 8 months or CMLL and be away from the product for a while so the fans can appreciate him when he comes back. And he did a lot for this Never Openweight Championship. I mean, he's tried to raise the interest in it. His matches with Tai Chi, his matches all through this year, defending it and winning it and losing it, have all been very interesting. It's going to go to another level with somebody with the caliber of Kota Ibushi and the star power of Kota Ibushi. No knock on Goto, because I do think he's just as talented in a different way. But Kota Ibushi's going to raise the level of this, kind of like Nakamura did with the Intercontinental Championship. I think they kind of put it on the right person for the big Wrestle Kingdom show, because that's the show that they bring in new fans with. And new fans are going to want to see Will Ospreay versus Kota Ibushi. They're two known names in the wrestling world. Kind of a dream match being set up here. So I think that's going to be interesting going forward. Ospreay comes out afterwards. Basically, they do a respectful thing. He says that, hey, without saying so much, they're lined up for the match. Last but not least, we got the reason for the show, the World Tag League Finals. The Gorillas of Destiny versus Sanada and Evil. And I mismentioned earlier that Jado helped out the BCOGs on a different match. This is where Jado came down. He came down with the GOD, and he was very involved in the match. And I kind of like that they got Jado involved more. I like Gato too. I like Gato and Jado both. I was a big fan of their tag team. So I'm happy to see him more in front of the scenes, other than just every now and then has a role. I like him. I think he adds something. He's a character that a lot of wrestling fans have known. He's been doing this for 25 years now. So he's very well known, and he's very well known that he's part of the behind the scenes. So I like that he's taking a more prominent role, and this is a perfect role for him. A role for guys like Taka Michinoku, who came out with Zack Sabre earlier. His partner, Gato, who comes out with Jay White and before came out with Okada. It kind of gives that rub of these stars that have been stars to the younger guys and helps get them over. Not that the Gorillas of Destiny need to help, but it does add something. It's like having a steak. You have this perfectly made steak, but then you have the extra baked potato on the side, and he's kind of the baked potato to go with the steak, if you catch what I mean. I thought this was a really good match. This is the third year that the Gorillas of Destiny are in the finals, which kind of frustrates me because I really think they're a great team, and I really think Tama Tonga is a great talent himself. No knock on Tongaloa, but Tama Tonga is definitely the star. And I really wish they would have let them win this match and inserted more of their dominance. Sanada and Evil do pick up the win. I thought, like I said, I think it's a great match. I like both of these teams immensely, don't get me wrong. But you got your world champions, your IWGP Tag Champions, and they're losing, which I understand it sets up the Wrestle Kingdom match, which perfectly makes sense. But you've had them lose 3 years in a row. One of them they should have won. And this could have been the time, seeing how dominant they've been lately. I give the match itself a 4. After the match, we see the Young Bucks come up, and there's been a lot. I've seen a lot on the internet today about why did they deserve to be there, why are they being pushed into this. They kind of basically set this to go from a straight-up tag team match, Gorillas versus the LIJ team, to a 3-way match without being said, kind of blaming it on New Japan for not booking them for the World Tag League. I don't know whose fault it is. I do know that New Japan putting the Young Bucks into this is definitely part of marketing. The Young Bucks, sad to say, out of the 3, and rightfully so, they're more well known around the world. all three of these teams are excellent top tier tag teams. They're all deserving of being champions. The Young Bucks, though, bring a certain star power to this. And much like I said for Ospreay versus Ishii, Ospreay versus Goto would not have had that big fight feel like this has adding the Bucks. It would have had, for some wrestling fans and New Japan fans, it would have had that. But it didn't have that factor that draws the outsiders in. And there's a lot of people that come to New Japan to watch the Young Bucks, to watch Kenny Omega. And I know it's the popular thing to do, but they're popular because they're great. They're really good at what they do. So I understand why they were inserted in. I do understand it kind of feels like they're the entitled tag team coming back there. But I don't think it was their decision. I think it was New Japan's decision. And maybe this is a way they're trying. Famously, the Young Bucks, along with Kenny Omega, Marty Scurll, Adam Page, and who am I missing? Kenny and Cody Rhodes. I can't believe he's the one that slipped my mind. They're famously going to be free agents come January, so maybe putting them in a prominent role and saying, hey, look, we're going to continue to use you as big spots on our show. We consider you important to the show. Maybe that's their way of trying to work on some contract negotiations, but who knows. With that being said, well, let's jump into our ratings. Again, we're going to do this a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Realistically, I want to give the show better because the last 3 matches were good, really good. But the first 6 matches felt flat. It felt like just filler. So I'm going to give this show a 3. I would have liked to give it a better score, but I think because of so much of the card felt like filler matches and had little to no importance. And I mean, important stuff did happen, but it just felt almost like a lazy show. And I know it wasn't because they're lazy. I know it's more because they're tired. So to me, it felt a little flat. But basically, that's all I have to say on that. My name is George Coles, and this has been my review of the New Japan World Tag League Finals.